the strength of the Senate needs to be relooked at again. When it comes to matters devolution, after reading it, I think the articles that have been touched tend to remove or to downgrade the role of Senate when it comes to allocation of resources to the counties. Senate is the anchor to devolution. I think that requires a review, not a rejection of the document, but a review. Your Excellency,
NC leader Musalia Mudavadi speaking yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya, also raising issues just like the DP on the role of the Senate as a custodian of devolution. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and tonight we're asking you, do you think the BBI report is a true representation of the views and opinions of ordinary Kenyans? Do you think the BBI is a true representation of the views and opinions of ordinary Kenyans? Text us on 22155, Twitters at Akisa Wandera at KTN News KE. Back to our panelists. Remember, the hashtag to use is front row. Back to our panelists. Dr. Alutalala, I cut you short and I'd like you to take a very short time. We're now on a marathon to the finish. You were finishing up a point on the role of the Senate and, you know, when it comes to voting in Parliament, what do this, or at the House, what do these amendments say?
Thank you, Akisa. I'll be quick on this one. Under the law, the money that goes to the counties is effected through what is called division of revenue bill, meaning that if the national budget is 1 trillion, it is the Senate which will ensure that the 15% that has been promised in the Constitution, now being told 35%, is actually attained. What has happened now is that the Senate has no role on the division of revenue bill. That has been taken to the National Assembly. And there is one more distressful thing about the National Assembly composition, that among the things that have been inserted in the Constitution is that there will be 70 extra constituencies in new constituencies which are being referred to as multiple constituencies. No criteria has been provided, but they are saying it will be based on population quota. So simply, the regions that have more people will get the extra 70 slots in the National Assembly. What that translates to is that the division of revenue bill in the Senate will swing the way the executive wants because it will have the extra 70 members of parliament. Number two, once the division of revenue bill is done by the National Assembly, then there is the second stage, which is called the allocation of revenue. That is now the little that they have agreed to give the counties. That is what has been taken to the Senate's approval. In other words, this Senate has just been reduced to a level of a more elevated county assembly. So anybody who does not believe that devolution is under threat should think twice. On the issue which you've asked me to comment, and that has to do with the nominated senators. Before, we had 47 senators in the Senate. Now, for every county, citizens will be compelled to choose 1 male senator and 1 female senator. Once they are in the Senate, all of them will have a voting right. Question is that under the law on devolution, and since the Senate was designed to protect devolution, where there were 2 senators from each county, there was what was called the head of delegation, meaning the elected senator becomes the head of delegation and therefore protecting the interests of the county.
Okay, let's hear, okay.
Now
okay,
we'll have 2 senators. No, let me finish that one. Now we'll have 2 senators. Can you imagine if we have from one county a Jubilee male senator, or vice versa, and an ODM senator. Who will be the head of delegation and who will be protecting the interests of the county? There will be a fight in this house until chickens come home to roost.
All right, and it will continue to hear much on that. I'd like us to talk about the other proposal, and this comes back to you, Honorable Ruto. The establishment of a ward development fund for each county, and that will be at least 5% of all the county government's revenue in each financial year. And the fund shall be used only for development expenditure. But of course, there will also be the hand of a parliament that will enact legislation to provide for, among other things, the management of the fund. You've been a governor before. Talk to us about the establishment of this ward development fund and what it would mean for this devolved counties or units.
Yeah. First of all, Wandera, I would like to correct what my good lawyer there has said. The question of a delegation from the county has actually been repealed. It appears that he has not quite looked at the provisions that have been repealed in the Constitution. That particular section, it means everybody will just be voting. There is no more delegation from the county. Therefore, there is no need for anyone to be ahead of anybody's delegation. So the other thing I wish to clarify is that although we may not get enough time,
yes,
I would like to clarify that there is no whittling down in terms of allocation to the counties. In fact, it has been given a stronger pedestal as a provision in the Constitution. And therefore, there will be little debate about how much money goes. The debate that has been on is about the formula, which has also been narrowed down. I don't know whether you are hearing me.
Yes, continue. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Are you still hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yeah, but quickly, let me go to the questions you asked me. Although before that, I want to finish by saying that what I'm hearing from my good friend Wanjiru Kikonyo is that she's actually a working library on devolution issues and constitutional matters. But what she's not taking cognizance of is that the terms of reference for this BBI team, there were 9 issues. And what a lot of people seem to be putting across are issues that are outside the 9 questions. They had not been charged with a responsibility of reviewing the entire Constitution. What some of the issues that are being raised by both the lawyer and Wanjiru Kikonyo are issues to do with the spirit, intentions, and so many other things that are actually outside the BBI mandate. Another issue is that they did not give any views, and even right now they seem to want to give views, and I think those ones are welcome. We can all agree as Kenyans that we can go further than what the BBI has done and look at every area of the Constitution, and that will be another matter. I would rather we back what we have. But going down to the Ward Development Fund, I want to make it clear that the Ward Development Fund is an excellent provision. It is going to make the counties participate in the national economy. It is going to give the youth an opportunity to start business and do all that which they would dream to do in a formal economy. This will generate a bigger growth rate for the entire economy, as it will definitely provide an extra impetus and an economic stimulus to grow this country. I understand when you say the national government will do the legislation, may look like it is running against the principle of devolution. But you see, this is a matter that will have to be standardized across the Republic. And the Constitution provides that national legislation will override county legislation on matters that are supposed to be standardized across the entire Republic. And therefore, the National Assembly has that mandate, and the Senate also together, because that is the Parliament. So in my view, I wonder whether we are still together.
Yes, we're together, very much so. So I'd ask
assuming we are still together, I think the World Development Fund is the right thing and the right way to go.
Okay. If you can still hear me, I'd like to get your closing remarks on then which way BBI, how do we move forward in less than a minute so that we finish up with the other panelists as we finish the show.
In my view, the best thing to do is to debate, let a wider cross-section of Kenyans read the document, and eventually, in my view, we should make some few recommendations and pass the BBI amendments. What my colleagues are saying is that there are certain things that have not been made clear. And I really don't think that they do not know, because legislation is yet to come. We are currently not debating on the legislative proposals to give effect to these various amendments. What we are debating is the certain amendments to the Constitution, but not the legislation that will give effect to the various provisions that have been redone on the Constitution. And we are not at the moment also discussing the various issues that Wanjiru Kikonyo has been fighting over. Not the various issues that Isaac Ruto has also been fighting for. We only have a few issues around the 9 questions which were before the BBI team and their terms of reference.
Let's give Wanjiru a chance.
And we should zero ourselves to around those few issues.
Let's give Wanjiru a chance. Thank you very much. Let's give Wanjiru a chance to respond to some of the things you've said as you speak on the World Development Fund and you know what this entirely would mean for these county assemblies and MCAs and of course the people. Wanjiru,
thank you.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you very much. And when Honorable Isaac Ruto tells us that it wasn't the responsibility of the BBI team to look at the spirit and letter of the Constitution, then really that's why I had to laugh, because I was going to say he was a great pro-devolutionist. He's not such a great pro-BBIist, and he's misrepresenting many things. So, Honorable Ruto, I still feel you need to come back home and join us in the trenches. Now, with regard to the World Development Fund, this issue, the 2013 ruling on the CDF, said that it is unconstitutional you can't administrate a fund at a level of governance not provided in the Constitution. So the Constitution provides 2 levels of governance in Article 1. And then it goes on in Article 2 and of course brings this out, the national and the county government. So when you introduce a ward development fund, you're then saying you're going to administrate at the ward level. It's a 4th level, because the 3rd level of governance in our Constitution is the urban areas. So if you're going to institute the Ward Development Fund through the Constitution or through national legislation, you're going to contravene the Constitution. So the discussion that should be on the table is, do we need a 4th level of governance? Then the BBI, like I said, is it's a warfare against our democracy. It's actually warfare against devolution properly, the BBI, and it's. This warfare is being waged on the basis of deception. And another deception that's coming out is the regional economic blocks, which are provided in statute at present. And part of the recommendations and thinking of the BBI around the regional economic blocks is that they can be given political power, can be given policy-making role that is presently at the county level. So if you read between the lines, and that's why I say it's a deception, because the BBI didn't come out and say, well, we've looked at the 2 level of governance of devolution. It's not working. We want to propose a re-centralization of some of the... So they're not saying that, but by implication, they are seeking to go back to the 5 level of devolved governance, and they're doing this without... And then last thing, very important.
As you wind up,
on public... My final point is the language around responsibilities and citizenship is extremely disturbing. If I were a dictator, I would want to use that language to say that we shall require people to, using this very nationalistic language. And there's then a falsehood that the BBI says that there's no responsibilities placed on people.
Okay.
Article 3 is about responsibilities of citizens. So we have to be very careful that the philosophical approach and the language in there is really very inimical to self-governance and to the sovereign liberty of people.
Thank you so much. I want to give Dr. Lutalala, just 1 minute. Where do we go from here? What do you expect to see? Please, 1 minute. I really want us to wind up.
Number one, this document is deceptive. I support that the way to go is as put forward by Honorable Dr. William Ruto and Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. Since the process began, consummated and concluded by the handshake duo, this is the time to allow other views to align this document before it goes to people. If they insist on moving this way, then we who are right-thinking Kenyans must mobilize and reject this document because it's a tragic. Central government is back. Majimboism is being brought in disguise, and the bigger the tribe, the more the resources. It is now going to be 1 man, 1 vote, 3 shillings, 70 MPs. We didn't have time to go to there, but that is the discussion that this BBI is bringing on the table. Thank you, Akisa, for having me.
Thank you very much. Let's take a look at what Kenyans are saying. This is their show too. Let's take a look at what their thoughts are. Let's see if we have something on Slido or Twitter. And as we load that, a lot of the views on my text line. Mwananchi view was not addressed. Instead, they have only dealt with succession plan. That's Gishinga Mwita from Mukurweini. Coach Ronald from Nakuru says BBI will derail all projects. We also have James Angulu from Kakamega who says, is there anything in the BBI which talks about how we can stop corruption? Because this is the biggest problem in Kenya. And Enoch from Bomet says that they're live on KTN News. And we also have... this is the game of the animal farm. Bourgeoisies to entrench their tentacles for decades or centuries to the people of Kenya. That's Kamau from Naivasha. Let's take a look at what we have on Twitter. Kanda Wesley saying, absolutely no. Most of the opinions represented are those for leaders. Issues touching on Mwananchi have not been clearly represented. How does postponement of repayment of HELB loan by 4 years help the youth without jobs? A good question there. Shan Dancer says, not at all, but I think it's in favor of the politicians themselves. Mwai Sospita saying a big no. We also have Ahmed saying, not really. Gathering opinion was just formality with predetermined outcomes. Few will benefit from it, while the country will remain more divided. And Makiche Kimeli Lagat says, yes, but needs loads of improvement. Mambea says Matthew Zondoro says it can either be both, but it would have been right if the government printed copies of the report and in a clear language that Kenyans can understand, or even in mother tongue for easy understanding. This thing cannot be translated well with the crop of politicians. Is there anything on Slido? We'll read 1 or 2 as we wind up. We asked you whether your views have been factored in this BBI report. Dan Okita says, no, BBI will not bring national inclusivity. I think the president, being a symbol of national unity, has all the power to include all Kenyans through appointment of cabinet secretaries. The BBI will put a lot of burden to taxpayers. He goes ahead to say, I think Kenyans know very well that what always brings a problem during election, it has been vote theft and lack of independence on the side of IEBC officials. The problem is not the winner takes it all as purported by other people. A lot of your comments, I couldn't possibly read all of them. Thank you for engaging with us on this episode of The Front Row. I'll be seeing you again next Tuesday for another topic and another panel. We had former Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto and former chair of the Council of Governors as well, National Coordinator, the Institute for Social Accountability, Wanjiro Gekonyo, and Dr. Alutalala Mukwana, an advocate of the High Court. Gentlemen and lady, thank you for joining us on The Front Row. I am Akisa Wandera. Have a good night.